Right. Dragon. This is great. These are definitely on my list of favorites. This movie combined with this movie are the two reasons why I am a filmmaker today. Ryan's Daughter is the name. It has such an amazing feeling. I have an animation cell of this dragon on my wall. John Powell, we love him.
You are an expert on dragons and dragon film.
I try to be.
You have the heart of a chief and the soul of a dragon.
So Dean, welcome to GM Video.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. One of my first jobs when I was 17 years old, I worked at a place called Vidéo Club in Elmer, Quebec, which had a French section and an English section. And I worked as a clerk. So I got to take movies home and watch them, and also kind of become a bit of an expert for everybody who was coming in. And it was fun because the Quebecois, like a lot of the people would come in and they would refuse to speak English, so I had to speak French. But it was fun.
You pick one of Bergman movies, one of his very last pieces, just here, Fanny and Alexander.
Yes, Fanny and Alexander.
Alexander, vakna! Hörru, det är någonting där ute.
I saw this film in a film class, my first year of college, and I always remembered it, and sometimes I return to it because it has such an amazing feeling. It's a very long film. In fact, I think it was a series all put together. But it has this gorgeous feel, and it's such an unsettling kind of creepy place that it goes to when the brother and sister go to stay with their uncle, and the person who's sort of locked behind the door. And I just found that whole space was sort of alive and kind of this breathing mummy. It was such a strange film, but really beautiful. And I find myself very inspired by it. Actually, I haven't seen all of them, but they do get quite surreal when you start getting into The Seventh Seal or Wild Strawberries. Mm-hmm. I think this is the way in, because it's just this beautiful kind of really rich, elaborate tapestry of a family and the holidays, and it kind of takes you into this specific sensibility. So I would recommend, even though it's long, I would recommend this before getting into the more, I think, poetic and surreal Bergman films.
That's great. And just behind you, there is another great filmmaker,
David Lean. Lawrence of Arabia is obviously a beloved favorite of anyone who admires David Lean. I'm equally fond of Ryan's Daughter is the name. I'm not sure what the French name is. It's a film that was shot on a very specific area, or a very specific part of the Kerry coastline of Ireland, which is where I was going to make an Irish ghost story for Disney a few years ago. And I'm so inspired by the films of David Lean, just for the breadth and the beauty and the artistry, the cinematography of it all.
Something I was wondering about is, was he a major source of inspiration for a Disney animated film that you worked on, which in my opinion is one of the most underrated Disney classics, which is Atlantis?
Atlantis, yeah. I worked on Atlantis briefly after coming off of Mulan, And yeah, for a short while I was on the story team. I think, yes, of course, there's like a breadth to that imagery. That was a story that, in my opinion, was maybe like it emphasized the visuals more than it emphasized the characters, which is why I don't think it was ultimately as successful as we all wanted it to be.
We can go on, and
Okay.
I made a special section for you.
Okay. Oh, wow. Dragon, 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 dragon. That's great. I was asked to name my favorite dragon films today.
What is it?
You have a couple of them. So, Reign of Fire.
Yeah.
This is I was really impressed with this film. I know it's over the top. But there was something that was cool about it in that these dragons felt like animals of our world. So they're not magical animals. And that's something that was inspiring for us when we started making How to Train Your Dragon. We wanted the animals to feel like they belong to this world.
Toothless. I could have sworn you had teeth.
And for some reason, they've gone away. So even though they breathe fire, we try to treat them like animals and reference real animals when we're making them. Aragon, interestingly, is the film that Chris Sanders and I discussed at length when we started on Lilo and Stitch, because we feel that Aragon ended the popular fascination with dragons for a while.
I didn't ask for any of this.
But you were chosen, nevertheless. A dragon will only hatch if it feels the presence of its rider. It'll wait forever if it has to.
What he says is true.
I think it had strong ambition, but ultimately didn't really connect with the audience. And so we wanted to make sure if we were going to tell a story about a boy who's going to ride a dragon, we had to find a different way in. We had to find something that was a little bit more wish-fulfilling and less stagnant in the fantasy tropes, which is why instead of just going down this kind of road of a talking dragon and a young hero, we decided to make him a regular kid bonding with a powerful animal, more like the Black Stallion than anything else. And one of the ideas I pitched to get away from the feeling of this film was that our dragon Krokmu would be injured by the young hero, and so he has to build a contraption, kind of like a Da Vinci-like a contraption that would allow him to co-pilot the dragon, which is inspired by one of my other favorite filmmakers, Hayao Miyazaki. The Hobbit, of course, Smaug he's a classic, but he is the type of dragon that seems more common, which is a magical dragon that talks, and he talks a lot.
You were only ever a means to an end. The coward's oaken shield has weighed the value of your life and found it worth nothing.
And I think that we wanted to do something that was much more animal-based. House of the Dragons is interesting because the makers of this film actually said in interviews that they referenced our film for the flight choreography in their climactic episode of the first season, which is it's a very nice compliment. We share a lot, I think, in terms of the the relationship to dragons and the bonding. I even, told Kit Harington when he went to create the bond with, I don't know if it was Drogon or whatever dragon in Game of Thrones, that he was referencing How to Train Your Dragon. Pete's Dragon. This is interesting. I thought this was one of the more interesting live-action remakes because it really expanded on a story and kind of created a new world. And I thought they came up with some really compelling visuals.
I wonder where that lady came from. Don't worry. I won't let her hurt you.
That's one of my favorite live-action remakes. And yes, of course, the classic.
Now shall you deal with me, O Prince, and all the powers of hell!
I have an animation cell of this dragon on my wall at home. Dragonheart. I like this movie, but I think Dragon Slayer was the one that really ignited my interest in movie dragons. The key dragon of that movie being called, it's a Vermithrax pejorative.
Here, Aelin, do what he said. Destroy the amulet. Smash it.
No! He said I'd know the time.
For nerds of dragons, it's kind of the classic. Yeah, so great.
So I think we can say you are an expert on dragons and dragon film.
I try to be.
Yeah, you are. You can continue just on your right.
Okay.
And in the back, there are some titles that I think we should bring a bell.
Yes. Well, these are definitely on my list of favorites. I think this movie combined with this movie are the two reasons why I am a filmmaker today. The Empire Strikes Back took a movie that I loved. I saw it once. We were kind of a poor family, so we didn't get to go to the movie theater very often. But I saw Star Wars and I was blown away. I maybe was 7 years old.
Hey, Luke. May the Force be with you.
And then when I was 10, I think, I saw this movie, and it inspired me to draw and to write my own fan fiction and to act out stories with action figures in my backyard. I just wanted to be part of storytelling, and I wanted to be able to draw and create universes and create characters. It took everything that I liked about the Star Wars universe and it made it bigger and more exciting and more dangerous and cooler.
I've just made a deal that'll keep the Empire out of here forever.
We would be honored if you would join us.
I had no choice. They arrived right before you did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, too.
When it came time to think about a sequel to Dragon, I thought, well, let's do our Empire Strikes Back. Let's expand it in every way, and let's go a bit darker so that it's the middle of the story of a 3-act coming of age. So, important movie. This one is, of course, for me, it speaks to a trend of films that are a theme in stories that I love, where you get two characters of very different backgrounds that come together for a period of time that, even though they must separate in the end, their collision changes them forever.
Ouch.
And so, of course, E.T. and Elliot have that experience, but also Harold and Maude, it's the same. And so this idea that people from very different backgrounds have a moment, have an impact on one another that changes them forever.
Harold, we have got to do something about this light.
What?
We transplant it to the forest.
You can't do that.
Why not?
This is public property.
Well, exactly.
And when we were doing the Dragon trilogy, I really, by the end of it, I wanted to be able to say that we could have the same ending. Croque-Mou must go his own way, and Harold is forever changed. They've affected each other's lives. Similar, again, this is the theme, having two characters of different backgrounds coming together for a short period of time that have a deep, deep impact on one another.
Love is the strongest thing in the world.
I think you find that metal is the strongest thing in the world, followed closely by dynamite, and then muscles.
Same again. Dead Poets Society. In this case, a group of kids are forever changed by their brief interaction with somebody who inspires them to live differently.
Captain, my captain.
Sit down, Mr. Anderson. You hear me? Sit down.
These are really important films to me, and it just keeps repeating itself over and over again. I find this one to be, there's something about Charlie Kaufman and Michel Gondry working together that is like magic.
I had you pegged, didn't I?
Yeah, the whole human race pegged.
Probably.
I still thought you were going to save my life. Even after that.
No.
This film is one of those films that I watch and I wish I was part of. It's so good. It's so brilliantly done. It's consistently one of my top 3 favorite films of all time. And so I have undying admiration for this story, for the writing and the directing, because, of course, Michel Gondry is such a visionary.
Here's Osidious.
Where?
Right there. See? It's sort of a swoop and a cross. Osidious the emphatic.
You're full of shit, right?
Nope. Osidious right there.
This French film, Diabolique, is this original version is incredible.
Le divorce est un péché mortel, figure-toi.
Ça alors. Tu vois, c'est le couteau que tu as trimballé dans ta poche pendant un mois. C'était pas un péché mortel?
J'étais jalouse, j'étais folle. Mais de là à combiner cette chose, non.
It really developed my appreciation for sound design. Because there's something so unnerving about this story and the way it plays out. It takes its time, and it just weaves a tapestry of stress and fear, all in this idea of the sound design and the power of it in film. So I get to work with some of the best sound designers in the world now at Skywalker Ranch. Randy Tom has been our sound designer on all 3 Dragon movies, and we have a shared love. Okay. I don't know if this one ever translates outside of North America, but this film is one of my favorites because, and I can tell you it's one of my favorites because if I'm ever flipping through channels, watching TV and it's on, I have to watch the whole thing.
That one's good. Looks like a medieval warrior.
You know, you're right. That's a good one.
Sorry.
It's a simple story. It's so bizarre and quirky, and it's just full of so many quotable lines to me. I really love it. I love its simplicity, and I just love the very unique take on all of the characters. So it's one of my favorites for sure. This is another one. So another Charlie Kaufman film, this time directed by Spike Jonze, being John Malkovich.
Would you like to be inside my skin? Think what I think. Feel what I feel. More than anything, Maxine.
This one, I feel like it lit my head on fire when I saw it. It was so unique so different and so smart and funny. And I had this sense of like, oh, I hope one day I can be a filmmaker who can deliver this caliber of movie. It's incredibly smart, and it stays with me and just cements my love of Charlie Kaufman as a writer.
There is one last section I'd like to take you.
Okay.
It's just right there.
I guess I would just say this. Dead Poets Society is one of two films that actually truly changed me as a person. I watched this film and I came out of it. Maybe it was my age, maybe it was my mentality at the time, but this film changed my outlook toward how I'm going to live my life.
Yes! I'm gonna be an actor. Ever since I can remember, I wanted to try this. I even tried to go to summer stock auditions last year, but of course my father wouldn't let me. For the first time in my whole life, I know what I want to do. And for the first time, I'm gonna do it!
It's really important because it has these beautiful kind of baked in life lessons that kind of make you open your eyes and take you outside of yourself and wonder, what you will contribute to life while you're here. So it's a very important one. The other one is a Richard Linklater film called Boyhood.
Oops, I did it again. I played with your heart, got lost in the game. Oh, baby, baby, whoops, you think I'm in love. I was never not that innocent.
Both of these movies had a really profound effect on me. I've watched this one every year, probably 20, 30 times. Boyhood, I refuse to ever see again. I watched it on an airplane of all places, and I was so emotionally affected by it that I thought, I don't want to in any way deconstruct it. I just want to appreciate the effect that it had on me. Very, very emotional, poignant effect.
Getting my master's degree, finally getting the job I wanted, sending Samantha off to college, sending you off to college. You know what's next? Huh? It's my fucking funeral!
I think we can all relate to that film, yeah. Okay, so this is the animated section with some of your friend stuff.
Amazing. Okay. There's one film here that's missing that I think we should talk about, and that's The Iron Giant.
This guy is Superman. Sure, he's famous now, but he started off just like you. Crash landed on Earth, didn't know what he was doing, but he only uses his powers for good, never for evil. Remember that.
The Iron Giant is my favorite animated movie because it did something fresh and something poignant. It just made me a lifelong fan of Brad Bird, and I think it is just one of those exceptional movies that was made with a small budget, with no support really from the studio in terms of its marketing, but it's become a cult favorite. I would say this one falls in kind of close side by side. My longtime friend and collaborator, Chris Sanders, all the way back to Mulan, Lilo and Stitch, which we wrote and directed together, and then of course How to Train Your Dragon.
This is you. This is your badness level. It's unusually high for someone your size. We have to fix that.
This was the first film that he directed, animation film that he directed on his own, and wrote as well. And it is based on a popular book, but he put his own spin on it, and I think it is so beautiful and so transcendent. It takes animation yet to another place in how impressionistic it is. But it also has, I think, the strength and courage to be quite sparse with dialogue and to lean quite heavily on the animation to convey emotion in a very earned way. It feels like every emotion you feel is very earned and nothing is sentimental for sentimental's sake. Beautiful film.
A lot of films that you are talking about have also, in my opinion, a strong connection with poetry. So what would be the poetry of How to Train Your Dragon?
I think the poetry of How to Train Your Dragon is really what seems to be the most common reaction is that people who feel like misfits and outsiders really respond to the main character of Hiccup, or Harold in French, because he is a character who is always ostracized. He's outside looking in. He wants to be like everyone else. He'll do whatever it takes to be like everyone else, but in his heart, he doesn't have that ability. Instead, he has something far greater, which is a compassion and a sense of empathy that everyone would see as weakness until he proves that there is a different way forward by embracing it. I was a kid that was made fun of. A lot of the people who respond to that character were made fun of, and so I know what it's like to want to be like someone else, and I also know what it's like when you embrace who you are and how the world can change to accommodate you. So, yeah, this is the idea of, I think the poetry of it is the hurt and the pain of being able to withstand ridicule and mockery and still follow your heart. If that makes sense.
Pick up! I'm sorry. For everything.
Yeah, me too.
You don't have to go up there.
We're Vikings. It's an occupational hazard.
I'm proud to call you my son.
Thanks, Dad.
Well, I should talk about this one.
Yeah.
Anastasia represents kind of the start of my career.
Grandma! Here! Take my hand! Hold on to my hand! Don't let go! Anastasia! Anastasia!
When I finished college in Canada, I was hired to go work for Dean DeBlois in Ireland. I spent 4 years working on 3 of their worst movies. But it gave me this sense of, obviously it prepared me for a longer career. It allowed me to work with very skilled artists, but it taught me the value of the position of writer and director. If ever I had the chance to do it, one of my driving missions is to make sure that everybody who works with me on a project is proud of that movie at the end of the day. Because we work just as hard on bad movies as we do on great movies. This one is actually pretty good. This was done after I had left Dean DeBlois, and they left Ireland and set up in Arizona. This was, I think, their first film, or maybe second film for Fox Animation. There was Titan AE as well. But I have a lot of friends who worked on it, and they were quite proud.
Go. Fulfill your dark purpose. Seal the fate of the Tsar and his family. Once and for all.
One last?
Of this section?
Yeah, maybe, because I think it's an important guy for you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's a great John Powell.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so Ice Age is on the topic of John Powell. He got his start working on these films, and actually he came from the studio that is owned by Hans Zimmer. And so John Powell was one of the many composers that worked for Hans Zimmer and began to show his stuff and start to get his own projects. And so this was a stepping stone toward us working together on How to Train Your Dragon.
What if you're right? What if I am the last mammoth?
But Manny, look at the bright side. You have us.
Not your most persuasive argument, Sid.
I consider John Powell to be the primary partner in making films these days, including this live-action reimagining of How to Train Your Dragon. Both Chris Sanders and I believe that we as filmmakers do everything we can to get the movie halfway there. And then if you have a talented composer like John, you hand off the movie and they will take it the rest of the way, because the language that they speak in goes straight to the heart.
I'm the first Viking who wouldn't kill a dragon.
First to ride one, though.
All right, bud, you ready?
They can do things narratively that make your film feel so much richer and just not only broadening in scope, but also taking it to a new emotional level. I applaud John. He was the first person I called when we talked about doing a live-action reimagining, and I said, talk me out of this if you think it's a bad idea, but what about a remake of How to Train Your Dragon? And he said actually the same thing. He said it's going to be a challenge delivering enough of what the fans love and still finding ways of adding new elements. But if we do it right and we do it with love and respect for the fans and integrity, it could be a wonderful nostalgic hug to all of the fans we have and for a brand new audience of people who might grow up with these films. So, John Powell, we love him.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dean.
Thank you. This is fun. I could spend all day in here. This is incredible. I love your collection. And I will say that everything I know about live action and everything that prepared me to step into the world of live action as a director comes from watching the behind the scenes making of documentaries in so many of these DVDs and Blu-rays. It has been my film education.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Konbini!